Okay, let's start. Hi everybody, my name is Al from Healthy Home Cleaning and Restoration, and today we're going to talk about what we do when we do a mold inspection in a basement and why basements. Basements are really almost always the root cause of moisture problems in a house. Not all the time, but most of the time. So we're going to go through a few things that we do when we're checking inside a basement. One of the things is we want to know what the humidity level inside the space is. And so right now we're at 57% humidity at about 60 degrees. And this is a non-penetrating moisture multimeter that gives us an idea on those kinds of things. The other thing I want to point out, and I try to tell everybody about this inside of an inspection, is that no matter what your basement feels like, no matter what, how dry it seems to be, there's always some moisture going on inside the slab. And just to give you an idea, this is a non-penetrating moisture meter. And if you look at me, I represent 99.9% moisture. When building material is dry, it represents, between 2% and say as high as maybe 15% can be considered dry. So we're going to look at this slab and just give you an idea on what's going on here. And like the slab is relatively dry in this particular, this is unusual, but at 14.9%. But over here, it's closer to 20, and as we take more samples, you'll be able to see that it's on the moist side. And so when we look at the wall, which appears dry, and we put a meter on it, there's 24% moisture content inside this block. And that's right at the grade where the earth meets the cement. And as we go down, you can see. So what I'm trying to say in so many words is that because we're below grade, this is essentially like a hydraulic sponge that's bringing moisture into the space. It's unavoidable, but it's something that we need to know when we're looking at things. So doing a mold inspection, we're going to look at things like this. There's 2 sumps in this basement, and that tells me that there's been water issues here and that they have largely mastered it. So we're going to look at this space over here. Things that we're looking for are black discolorations and or smells. That's not a scientific thing, but usually there's a damp smell associated with things. The other thing we do is we use this machine over here, which we're going to take an air sample. And what this does is it takes a measured amount of air, exactly 75 liters. It puts it through a cassette like this, and we're able to send this off to a lab and be able to determine the amount of mold spores that are present inside the air and the species of mold spores. So we'll be able to know. We also take another sample from the outside, and that gives us a good baseline to know what's going on inside this space. The next thing we want to do is gather a surface sample from somewhere inside this space on a surface, because mold spores will accumulate in that way. Between the air sample, the surface sample, and the sample outside, we're going to be able to give a profile of what's going on inside this space. So let me show you how we do that. We have a slide that looks like this. I label it with where it's coming from. There's a little protective film that goes on top of it. I'm just going to take that off. And behind it leaves a very lightly sticky sort of surface that we're able to gather a sample from. So I'm going to gather a sample from, pretty much a random spot inside the space. We've got it on there like that. I put it back in this little canister, and this is what goes off to the lab. So between these samples and our feeling inside this basement, we're able to develop a profile on whether there's really elevated mold levels that need remediation or whether it falls inside the normal range. And so that's really, the end of it. That's really the whole process. So again, if you want to reach me on this, you can call me at 845-651-3413. This is Al Beers from Healthy Home Cleaning and Restoration. All right then. Thanks everybody.
That was great.
Was it?
Yeah, that's good.
Oh, it's nice to get your words of encouragement on those things.